France player ratings versus Italy. France just got the win, 33-8 over Italy, and it was a very entertaining game of rugby. It was a really big arm wrestle. This one went all the way to the end. It could have been a lot different, but I mean, some of the players from France really stepped it up in this game. But before we get into it, guys, if you do enjoy the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe to help the channel grow. And if you do agree with what I say, if you disagree with what I say and my opinions, let me know in the comments. Let's talk about it. I've been really overwhelmed by all the French fan support. I really appreciate it, and I've learned a lot of ways how to say the French names, and I really appreciate it from all the French fans. Alright, let's get right into it. Jean-Baptiste Gros. I've gone for a 6 out of 10. He got a bit dominated at scrum time, but not as much as I thought he would. But his actual play around the park defensively, he was putting in hits for days, and he was actually working really hard. This is the one time where I think bringing him off at 37 minutes was only because he was so tired on his feet, because he was making hits after hits after hits. He was really, really pushing, and he was one of those guys that actually led from the front physically, but at scrum time it just didn't go his way. So I've gone for a 6 out of 10. Some people might say a bit lower because of his scrums, but I thought he was actually quite good around the park and influenced the game quite well. And I don't think Italy's scrum was as dominant as we thought it would be, especially in the opening half. Number 2, Julien Marchand. I've gone for a 6.5 out of 10. I mean, he was solid in my opinion. He had a good game. He got a few penalties against him early, but I will say his work rate is really good, and that's what makes him stand out from other hookers in world rugby. And I will say around the park, he does his work really well, and he's almost like an extra flank around the park because he can steal. He's always a pest at the breakdown, and I really like this about Julien Marchand. I think they have a perfect balance of a starting hooker with Julien Marchand and a bench hooker with Piato Mavaka. I think Marchand is more of a guy that can grind out 55 to 65 minutes, and Piato Mavaka can come on when the game's loose, when the game's open, when you feel like the momentum's tipping over in France's favour. He can come on and just absolutely put the nail in the coffin as one of those really mobile forwards that almost plays like a centre. So I really like their 1-2 punch combination of the hookers right now in France rugby. But I will say Julien Marchand was good without being great today. Number 3, Dorian Aldegheri. I've gone for a 5.5 out of 10. He is a bit of an old school type of tight head that really focuses on scrums, and he didn't really get any dominance at scrum time today. So his work around the park was decent, but he isn't really the type of guy that's going to put in a lot of shots, a lot of hard work around the park. Yes, for him it's hard work, but I mean, if you're thinking compared to the likes of some other guys like a Jean-Baptiste Gros, he just doesn't get through the same amount of work. But I've gone for a 5.5 because I thought he was okay without being bad. So yeah, Dorian Aldegheri, he'll be one guy that will probably go back to the drawing board after this performance and see how he can impact the game in maybe other ways than just the scrum battle. But I will say France's front row didn't get as dominated as I thought in the first half. So I mean, that's at least a bit of a positive. Alright, going on to number 4, Thibaut Flamé. I've gone for an 8.5 out of 10. This guy was excellent at line-out time. He disrupted basically all of Italy's lineouts. He was a disruptor at ruck time. He was very good on the attacking side at ruck time. He's very aggressive. He cleans with pure intent, and he's one of the main reasons why France can get such quick ball for the likes of a Dupont, a Ramos, and even sometimes Anthony Jalonge when he plays at scrum off. I love how they do that, by the way, where they just pick up the ball from the base, play Dupont out the back, and he almost plays like a fly off. It's really awesome. But I will say Thibaut Flamé today really impressed me because he plays with a composed head on his shoulders. He doesn't make too many mistakes at all. He was a threat with ball in hand, and I think if you're giving him a lower than an 8.5, it probably doesn't justify his performance. He was really good today. He was actually one of the standouts for me. But moving on to number 5, Emmanuel Miafu. I've gone for a 9 out of 10. He really impressed me today, and I honestly haven't really seen much of him over the last few years because I actually haven't really been watching France rugby that often, to be honest, over the last few years. But this guy really impressed me today. But I will say, I don't think he comes into the starting lineup in place of Goulard or Charles Olivon for the bigger games. I think what France have now is they have more options. So, for instance, if they play against a team that's more the style of a Italy, the style of a South Africa, maybe the style of an Argentina with some really bruising, big physical forwards, then he's the perfect guy to start. And I will say, in other games where you're playing against the likes of possibly a Scotland, or you're playing against the likes of a Wales or a quicker team like the All Blacks or the Wallabies, he's the perfect guy to bring on in the second half because he'll just add that punch, you'll add that 140 kg body of his, and you'll just mow over the advantage line. So I will say, this performance from Thibaut Flamé and Emmanuel Miafu today opens up so many options and so many variations for France going forward that they can use and they can utilise. Because I still think it's unfair if you take out Olivon and Michael Goulard now after this performance, but these guys were really good. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do. Could they start the likes of a Thibaut Flamé with an Olivon Maybe honestly have no idea, and that's a very good problem to have right now in the France team. That selection-wise, I have no idea who they're going to pick. But I've gone for a 9 out of 10 for Emmanuel Miafu. He really was one of the key players for France today, and he was smashing guys all over the park. So 9 out of 10 for him, and he was really impressive. And he's still quite a young guy as well. Number 6, Francois Cross, 7.5 out of 10. This guy, if you told him to tackle a tree, he would tackle straight through it, and he'd probably get a dominant tackle as well. He is such a good warrior for this team. I mean, he clears all the time. He's always clearing the rocks for Antoine Dupont. He rarely gets noticed, but I've been realizing him now. And once you see him for the first time, once you watch Francois Cross for the first time, you will never think he's just an average player that doesn't contribute well. You'll never think that again, because he is the prime example of a hardworking, absolutely beast of a forward that does everything that he will not play with the accolades. He does not play a style of rugby that's for the accolades, but he'll do everything that he physically can to give front foot ball and to give dominant hits for his team. That's why I really like this guy. He's an absolute menace on the field, and I think Francois Cross is the type of guy that he's built like a soldier. I mean, it's like he's going into war every time. He is absolutely awesome, and I will say that he has really impressed me. A 7.5, just because I think there was maybe some other better performances from a Flamer and Emmanuel Miafu if it comes to what you actually saw from them. But I mean, he did the nitty-gritty hard work, and to be honest, I probably can go back and watch the game all over and just watch him and give him a higher score, but I wasn't really in the luxury position to just watch him the whole time. But I mean, a 7.5, he's phenomenal. Oscar Giroux, I've gone for a 6.5 out of 10. It wasn't his best game today, but it was also not his worst game. I mean, he's the type of guy who's going to give you consistent performances. I will say I've seen other people giving him lower scores, but it doesn't really make sense to me to give him a lower score, because he's similar to a Francois Cross type of a player where he'll impact the game in a lot more different ways than just what you see from him. To be honest, he probably found the ball in his hands a lot more than he was probably used to or what he was expecting. But I mean, he's a beast. I really like this guy, and I think this loose trio from France right now is just the perfect balance. It's such a good loose trio, and these guys are all absolute machines. Moving on to number 8, Anthony Gelange. I've gone for a 7.5 as well. He just smashed Ange Kapawatso today. He really took Ange Kapawatso out the game, and I've been saying this. I said it in the full-time reaction. It was always going to be tough for a guy like Ange Kapawatso to do anything good with guys like Anthony Gelange, Antoine Dupont, Piazza Movaka, Julien Marchal, these guys that play with him at club level, that know him so well, that know the little things he does before he steps, the decisions he might be making. He knows it. All the players in the France team know him. They know him through and through because they play with him all the time. So it's going to be much more difficult, especially in this game, for him to really have a big impact and to do things that are unexpected. So I think if he was playing against the likes of England today or a Wales, he would have looked a lot different. He would have made a lot more line breaks, but he still had a good game. But Anthony Gelange absolutely destroyed Ange Kapawatso today. I mean, this guy is a workhorse, and I think that's probably the best way to describe him. He's a workhorse. He's a bit of a honey badger as well. He won't go down without a fight. He just loves physicality, and I think this France loose trio right now, that you can just see that they love playing rugby and they love being physical. Same with the Italian guys, but this French loose trio today really stepped up when it comes to the physicality department. I will say maybe some of their skill sets weren't at their best today when it comes to ball in hand, for instance, Oscar Giroux, but they still impressed me with the work they got through against a very, very dominant Italian pack. So 7.5 for me. Moving on to number 9, Antoine Dupont. I've gone for an 8.5 out of 10. I mean, his pass selection today was through the roof. He was picking the right runner every single time. He plays really flat on the line, and I think he combines really well with some of the players from Toulouse. Him and Thomas Ramos. People probably before the game thought, oh no, Thomas Ramos is coming in at 10, but they don't know that Thomas Ramos can play any single position in the back line and he'll be fine, because he'll always find a way to be like a number 10. And over the last few games for France as well, Thomas Ramos has actually been the guy with the second most amount of passes in the team. So which just shows that he is a key playmaker. He is a guy that they want the ball in his hand. So losing a guy like Jalibert was very big for France today. But having a guy like Ramos outside Antoine Dupont, he was still just as comfortable. And I thought Antoine Dupont played a really good game. He just showed off his physical ability as well. Alessandro Fusco, he held him up like twice. He absolutely smashed him once. And I mean, his ability to fend off forwards, break the line, do a half break while making the right decision in a split second is what separates him from the other scrum halves. And to be honest, I wouldn't say I didn't rate him. Of course, I've always rated him. He's one of the best players in the world. But now I'm really starting to see why he is such a special player. And I mean, For me, my favorite scrum off of all time is Farid Priya. And if I think right now, three of my favorite scrum offs of all time has got to be Anton Dupont, Farid Priya, and Aaron Smith. Those guys are just game changers, all in their own way. And I think Anton Dupont is a really good physical ball running scrum off with a very educated boot as well, with some extremely good hang time box kicks. And I don't think people realize how undervalued a very good hang time box kick is. I mean, this guy puts it on the right foot, the left foot, he's hanging it for 4.5 seconds, putting it precisely on the spot he wants it. Then you have guys like Louis Bilbari, Teoate Sogbe just being an absolute pest in the aerial battle, but it all starts with Anton Dupont's very accurate box kick. So 8.5 for me, could even be a 9. I'm going to stick with 8.5 because I've seen him do 9.5 performance before, but that was still a very good performance from him today. Thomas Ramos. I've gone for an 8 out of 10 for Thomas Ramos. I was thinking of 7.5 again, but I did get a comment last week that said that was maybe a bit harsh. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but he is probably my favorite player in the France starting lineup, the way I actually go a bit more hard on him when it comes to the selections and the player ratings. But he was awesome today, slotting in at fly half, a position he's used to, but not used to at international level as much, especially against a good Italian team. He did very well. His kicking game is off the charts, and he's one of those guys that he does game-changing things every single game, and these are not flukes because he does it in practice. He practices it all the time, and he does it week in and week out. I mean, his ability to do a bit of a grubber-style box kick out of hand, send it for a 50-22 after like 5 seconds before that, kicking it out on the full, just shows the confidence this guy's playing with. And the one thing I really hope is that this guy never loses his confidence, because he is an absolutely awesome rugby player. And I think France is really going to miss him when he retires one day. But that's not talk for today. I think he was awesome. His goal kicking was a lot better today, a lot more tight off the tee as well. He managed the game well, and I think they did miss Mathieu Jalibert today. But when Mathieu Jalibert comes back, Thomas Ramos will move back to 15 and Jalibert will slot into the 10. He did very well today to play out of position. Number 11, Louis Bilbari. I've gone for a 7 out of 10. He showed a lot of pace to score his first try, but I still think Italy did well to keep him out the game today. I thought Italy's wings and outside backs did very well to manage Louis Bilbari today. I think normally he would be scoring a lot more tries in these types of situations that he was given, but I think they definitely did plan for him in Italy during the week. So a 7 out of 10, I wouldn't say not his best performance. He played very well. He impacted the game very well the way he could, but not his most impactful performance if you think about tries scored, line breaks, and probably meters made. But that's not all that makes a wing good. So, I mean, a 7 out of 10, and he was quite solid as well. Number 12, Fabien Brau-Barry. I've gone for a 7.5 out of 10. He carried really well today, and I think these power centers that play for France right now, these two young guys, if things aren't going well, if you are struggling, you just give the ball to them and they'll just correct everything. They'll run straight, they'll do some sort of very good decision, and these guys are very high percentage decision players. They don't make bad decisions, really. There was a time where I thought Fabien Brau-Barry made a bit of a silly decision, but he probably could have had a concussion there. I know he did go off for an HIA, but he was very impressive. 62 minutes into the game, he lost the ball nearly on the Italian line, but I'm not going to give him a lower score for that because he did so much more on the field, and he is a really standout player. And I think France have a very interesting selection battle coming up when the other centres come back from injury, Mofana and Deporté. Moving on to number 13, Emilien Gaeton. I've gone for an 8 out of 10. I mean, that first break from him was absolutely incredible. I honestly didn't think he was going to just choose that line, but sometimes the line that seems so obvious to run is the best one to run because nobody's thinking you're going to do the most obvious thing. He was slicing through the defense, and yes, he did fall off maybe a few tackles, but he scored late in the game, and he was really solid today. And I think these two power centers are going to go a long way in this team. I mean, if you think you have a power kind of core backline of the two centers, and then you have the wing like Teoate Sogbe as well, that can only benefit each other. And then you have the likes of Antoine Dupont, Thomas Ramos, and some other players as well. Then you have the likes of a Bordeaux player from Mathieu Jalibert and Louis Bilbari as well. So right now, this team is doing very well to keep guys in combinations that play well together, that know each other very well. And for these two guys, I did say that this week was going to be a massive test in their international careers, and they passed it with flying colours again. I mean, they are the real deal. These two centres really are the real deal, and I can't wait to see how they go about the rest of their season, because I'm pretty sure they'll probably get sent to New Zealand later this year. I mean, maybe they probably could. If I'm not mistaken, Bordeaux's probably going to make the top 14 final, maybe, or Pau or Toulouse. So whoever from them don't make the final might get sent to New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me, French fans, in the comments. But I'd love to see these two go play against the All Blacks in New Zealand later on this year. That would be awesome. Number 14, Gael Drain. I've gone for a 7 out of 10. Made some really good touches, scored an awesome try. I was so happy for him when he scored his try. He runs really good lines as an outside back, and he really impressed me. He's quite a composed player, and these young backline players in this France team are just scary good. I mean, the fact that they're playing with so much confidence, as if they are all 50 cap players, is tremendous to me. So I've just been really impressed by this entire young backline from France. And if you think the likes of the Ramos and the Antoine Dupont are the older guys in this backline, it's actually scary if you think about that, because they are still in their prime. But I mean, Gael Drain, happy that he got his first try, but a 7 out of 10 for him. It was a solid performance. Number 15, Theo Sogbe. I've gone for a 7 out of 10. I think Italy did well to kind of manage him in the game. They didn't really let him get too many opportunities, and they probably did plan for that, because Theo Sogbe is a very dangerous player for France. But I've gone for a 7 out of 10 because he was okay in the air. Yes, he did play out of position, and I do think he maybe had a better game over the last 2 weeks prior, but I do think his natural position right now in international rugby is the wing, where he can work his way off the wing and not really be put in situations that maybe isn't comfortable with right now. But chucking a guy like him into the deep end and him passing the test like that was a very positive sign for France, the France squad, and for him as a player. So 7 out of 10 for Theo Sogbe. Moving on to number 16, Pietro Mavaka. I've gone for a 7 out of 10. He added so much off the bench. He's a really good runner. He makes very smart decisions, and he's a very good player with ball in hand. He carried well. He carried with a lot of intent, and I think he is a very key player off the bench for France. He was really going to put in a big performance to get his spot back after he didn't make the team last week, and I think he did very well. He's one of those guys that I'll always just like him as a player. Just watching him play rugby, he's fun to watch. He's a very good hooker, but he's also a really mobile forward. And if all else does fail, there's a lot of injuries in the game. You could honestly put him in the centres, like number 12. He'll be fine. He's a very mobile player, and he doesn't look like a hooker to me, but he still plays very well at his position. His fundamentals of his position are really solid, but he can also do other things to add value to the game and probably be a game changer as well. So 7 out of 10 for him. Rodrigue Netti, I've gone for a 6 out of 10. I thought he was a little bit better than Aldegheri today, but just still didn't add that much off the bench. I will say that it's hard to say, because they did play against a very dominant Italy pack, and they were never going to really dominate these guys, because this pack is no joke, and they did show that the pack for Italy right now is the real deal. I just think the whole squad from Italy needs to put it together. But I mean, he did struggle a little bit, and I mean, Italy did begin to get some scrum dominance. So a 6 out of 10 maybe is a bit nice to him. I might drop it to a 5.5. I'll keep it at a 6 out of 10 just because I thought he did a little bit better than Aldegheri in this game. Number 18, Georges Henry Colomb. I've gone for a 6.5 out of 10. I mean, he did all right with the game time he was given. He made a few big tackles. He smashed a few guys, and at scrum time, he did concede a penalty, but he was still not worse than the other guys in front of him today. I thought he was okay. So for him, a decent game. I mean, the whole front row from France right now probably is a worry, but I will say getting through this game without too much damage when it comes to the scrum and the front row overall, it's probably a positive. Moving on to number 19, Charles Olivon. For Charles Olivon, I've gone for a 6.5 out of 10. He was on for cross. He brought a lot of good, valuable experience, and he contested in every single facet of the game. He is a really good international player, and I think, as the commentator said in the game as well, when it comes to international rugby, he is the perfect player. He's the perfect mold of a rugby player to be playing international rugby, because he's very competitive at all facets of the game. The ruck, the tackle dominance, ruck speed, line out time, more defense, more offense. He just really is a Swiss Army knife in the forward, and the only way I can really describe him is he's probably like a Damien Willemse in the forward pack. Like, Damien Willemse can play a lot of positions, 10, 12, fullback, and this guy, Charles Olivon, can play a lot of positions really well. So that's probably a good comparison if you think backline to forward. Number 20, Michael Gallard. He didn't play enough for me to be able to rate him, but he still did well when he was on. He made a lot of carries, but I'm not going to rate a guy that hasn't played a lot or enough, just because it might be unfair if it's a bit of a lower score. But he actually had some positive impacts on the game, but I'd like to see him play more. Obviously, him and Charles Olivon probably are the two starting locks going forward, but that position's it's going to be tight going forward. I mean, selection for those two between Thibaut Flamer, Emmanuel Miafu, Charles Olivon, and Michael Gallard is going to be tough. Moving on to number 21, Lenny Nushi. I've gone for a 7.5 out of 10. I didn't realize this guy was this young. I thought he was one of the older players in the team. He is a beast, and I do remember seeing a video of him a few years ago at under 20 level, looking like a man amongst all the under 20 boys, and it was crazy to me that he would look so big compared to everyone else, but he really is making a big impact. I mean, up until today, through the 47 minutes he's played, he's made the most dominant tackles, the joint most dominant tackles, and I mean, today, he was still physical, he was lively around the park, and he was probably similar to the likes of a Pietro Mavaka when it comes to the actual energy and impact they made. I think Lenny Noshi has earned himself a spot on the bench as a very key player going forward. Number 22, Baptiste Seren. Came on late, still made some good touches, but I'm not going to give him a score. So I don't think it's fair to give him a score, but he did make some good touches, made one weird pass, but he still made a very good pass as well, skip pass on the outside. And I do just want to see him get more game time, but I think it will come. I think he adds a lot of impact for this team. Maybe him not getting that much game time does mean that they probably think Maxime Luku or Nolan Lacarec are more important in the squad going forward, but probably my favorite player in the France team just gets some more game time because he deserves it. He's been awesome recently, and he's such a good player, and I think he can really impact the game very well, especially if you're trying to close a game out or come back from being down in the game. I think he will get some game time later in the year in New Zealand, and that should be awesome for him because I think he'll be a really good senior experienced player to lead France down there and just play the similar style to Antoine Dupont with their own little nuances as well. I mean, Antoine Dupont's a very good runner. Baptiste Seren's a good runner as well, but he's very quick, very crisp off the base, and they both add a lot of value to this team. Number 23, Louis-Pierre Barassi. I've gone for a 6 out of 10. He was solid. Didn't really add any game-changing moments. Didn't really play that long either. But he was solid, and I think he does earn himself another cap on the bench, probably in the next game. I know that they just brought in Drian this game completely out of the matchday teams. And I do think that Louis-Pierre Barassi earns a spot in the team in the next few games. But guys, that is my player ratings for this game. If you do enjoy it, if you do agree with me, let me know in the comments down below. If you don't agree with me, let's talk about it. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.